Okay, so I do know that someone's gonna make fun of that sign back there. It says no smoking, and I'm vaping here. I'm actually outside. I'm enjoying the rest of my lunch, just kind of hanging out. I figured I'd just open talk. So, one of the most popular topics today in mobile technology is not smartphones and what type of smartphones is coming to a particular carrier. It's not the plan rates. The hottest topic that goes on right now basically is how poor a customer experience is with a provider. Today, in you know, today the smartphones is just the extension of the human body. Everyone has to have it. They rely on it for every little thing, and because it has become that much of an attachment to us, we tend to critique and have just this honest idea of what's fair to the reality of what's fair. So I'm gonna break it down in this video. I'm not gonna try to drag it out to be like a half-hour video. So I'm gonna try to crunch this in 10 minutes. But let's start off with network coverage. Okay. Network coverage. A lot of people think that it's so easy for a company to just erect towers in areas that have spotty or weak coverage from their services, and that is furthest from the truth. It costs the company a lot of money just to put up one tower, just to have one tower put up so that it can actually output a signal in that area to cover the weak, distressed signal strength. That is a lot of money. When people feel entitled, like, all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, they'll just go and put up a tower. It doesn't work that way. It costs money too. And the company that has the lower form, the basically from like all different like compare like its competitors, if it's the lowest of them, so like in this scenario would be Sprint. um, you don't have that kind of resources and funds to just immediately put up towers as quickly as say like Verizon can, because of the amount of subscribers they have and the amount of people that pay into their services. The amount of money that they bring in yields the amount of their network they can build out a lot quicker. So the assumption of like, I've called in multiple times and my coverage is weak, get a tower up. Yeah, it's not that easy. But if it was, I'll tell you right now, Sprint would like have so many towers up in areas that have been reported to have weak, spotty coverage, or even in places where it shows that they supposedly have good coverage that doesn't. And I know a lot of the issues when it comes to that, and that's like, the mapping will say that it has good coverage even though there's no towers in the area, and that's because it's relying on towers maybe from like one town over to provide that signal. It don't work like that. There's another part to it that I'm going to explain here. And this has to do with focus signal. I like to call it that. I just call it the focus signal. So it's kind of better explain. We know that there's people that will be like, there's a tower 2 blocks away from me and I'm still getting weak coverage. Now, there are certain towers, say like this bottle was a tower, that output a signal in a radius form. So bursting out signals in all directions. There are certain towers that are what I like to call focus signal. So like if it knows that an area northeast of it is the area that has the most drop calls, the most slow data, that tower is only specifically designed to shoot more signal waves in that one direction. So you can actually be 2 blocks away from that tower and there's no signal actually being projected your way. It's all focused one way. So how are you supposed to know which tower is what? Well, of course, you won't know. It's not like we put a sign up there that says this tower focuses on northeast of the city, and this tower shoots out a 360 radius, and this tower focuses west of your city. It don't work like that, but it causes confusion because customers don't know that kind of stuff. They're not, and it doesn't come with the manual. And for someone who will be like, well, we shouldn't have to know. Yeah, you're right. You shouldn't have to. But here's an explanation for you. So instead of you thinking that this tower over here doesn't work, now you got an explanation of what the possible outcome could be. The other thing to it is also the entitlement that some people feel today, because like I look at all different fan pages and stuff like that, I see people post up how they dislike Verizon or they dislike AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. And I gotta tell you guys, people are so quick to buy into these stories that they post on there. And I would really call it down to a 50-50. I would really call it down to say that that 50% of it is truth and 50% of it is opinion. The reason why I say that is because if a customer is like, I'm dissatisfied with Sprint because my town used to have signal and then I stopped getting signal coverage, and I called into them and they said, oh, nothing we could do. It looks like that the signal in your area is no longer there. You're in an extended roaming area. So, in other words, it's a nice way of saying that we don't provide service in your area, seek another provider. They'll go up on there and be like, Sprint doesn't care about its customers, because rather than fixing the area that had weak signal, they just decided just to take the signal away and tell me to go find another carrier. Okay? Yeah, and that does actually happen. So the customer, was he lying? No. That's what it was. When you have some stories where they're like, oh, I was told my bill would be this and that and this and that, it actually works two ways with that. Because one, we do have miscommunication where sometimes the agents forget to say something, or if they didn't forget, they just were not thinking straight when they told the customer that their plan per month would be this and that. And then sometimes the customer just took what the agent said and misinterpreted it completely left field. So then when things don't go out the way that they think it's supposed to be, they go on there and start bad-mouthing companies. And that's where it's a matter of opinion and not an actual fact. Also, on top of that, some customers feel like that because a specific company is, the smaller of the major four. So whichever company is in fourth place, it used to be T-Mobile years ago, now it's Sprint. They feel like because they know that it's facts put out there, that they can call in and complain about every little thing and feel like that they're entitled to a lot. Example, some customers, and this actually does happen, some customers will call in and they'll say like, I haven't had service in 5 days. No calls, no text, no data. So what we normally do is we take their monthly price plan, and that's the plan, not including the devices that they have leased or they have an installment billing on, just the plan itself. We take that, divide it by 30, and multiply it by the amount of days that they don't have service. And then we issue that as a credit. Now, if you take a plan and you divide it by 30, so 1 day is like $1.60. And you multiply that by 5. Does that come out close to being a $100 bill credit? No, that's furthest from it. Do customers see that that's fair? No, they don't see that that's fair. They want $100 and they want $50 or $60. And it's like, you want $60 for 5 days with no service. Or you want us to cover your entire bill for 5 days of no service. And they'll go on the websites and they'll badmouth the company and be like, they don't care, they rip you off and all this other stuff. And it's like, no one ripped you off. You just want $60 for, a $5 credit or a $7 credit or an $8 credit. It's really crazy how nuts we've become with mobile tech, how nuts we've become with having cell phones, all because we rely on it for social media, for Facebook, for Twitter, for things like that. We rely on being in the knowing and sharing every bit of ourselves 24/7 to the entire world. And so we feel like it's some sort of emergency when we go a few days or even a few hours without service. That's weird. That's really weird. It's absolutely crazy that it's come down to that. I honestly feel like that, what's fair is fair. If it's a major issue, it yields, an incentive on top of the correction. That's how I feel. Losing Facebook for 5 days is not an emergency. Losing YouTube for 5 days is not an emergency. Losing Twitter and all that for 5 days is not an emergency. But we don't tell the truth too. Sometimes people will be pissed off because they have no phone service and they can't get on Facebook, and then all of a sudden, the truth behind it, that well, not the truth behind it, but the truth they want, you know, companies to think, is that they didn't have service for this amount of days, and there was a family emergency, and the person that was trying to reach them couldn't get a hold of them, and it cost them a great big deal of heartache and headache, and bad vibes and family emotions, and credit score went down 100 points, so they feel like we should credit their whole bill. It is crazy that we make up stories like that. And that's why I say, like, a lot of the stories that I see, like people bad mouthing T-Mobile, bad mouthing Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, Boost Mobile, Metro, Cricket, some of those I take as truth, and some of those I take as opinion, because sometimes it is the actual fact of bad customer service, and then sometimes it's just one's point of view of what bad customer service is and the experience they have. So I don't know, kind of a weird rant. I guess I'm gonna drop it for now because I gotta jam back to work. So if you guys enjoyed this type of video, you guys can let me know by smashing that like button as always. And if this is your first time checking out my channel, hit that subscribe button so you guys know when I upload a video. Why haven't I streamed on YouTube so much lately? No, streams can take so much time, and I'll get caught up in conversations, especially right now. If I stream right now, I'd probably be late going back in from lunch, so not a good idea to do a stream. But I'll eventually get back to doing them, more or less. So until then, yeah, thanks for watching. I'm Tito, and I'm out. Look at my red orange thumb.